Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings, family. Welcome to the Sajda Wendy Muhammad YouTube channel. Tonight, we're going to be discussing the importance of using your voice. So I'll give y'all time to get up and get in here and sit down. And I'll see you on the other side of the commercials.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided thee right, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome, welcome to the Sajda Wendy Muhammad YouTube channel. We're going to be chatting tonight about the importance of using your voice. And before I get started, I just wanted to let me tell y'all a few things. Let's see. Today is my longtime sister, Sister Aletha's birth anniversary. So I told her, go celebrate yourself today. And she's certainly a beautiful soul. She deserves it. I've known her forever, since we were silly little old 20-something-year-olds laughing and giggling on the phone, and her saying to me, girl, you don't know about Jodeci? And her telling me, I remember when Tupac was pronounced dead, and we were both working for the minister at that time, and she came from the palace into my office at the National Center, and she said, all right, no, she called me. She said, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. She said, okay, I'm about to come in there. She closed the door. She said, girl, Tupac is dead. And we just sat up there and cried like we knew him, like he was our friend. I remember when the OJ verdict came out, she called me. She's like, where you at? And I was like, what? So we just been knowing each other for a long time. She's a great friend, great supporter. And I'm just blessed. I'm blessed to have some really, really good friends in my life, people who are there through all my rough projects and everything. They're just there like, all right, what are we doing next? And I really, really appreciate it. So, yeah, so that's important. So much is happening out here. But I wanted to really talk to us about using our voice, because, and I was going to direct this towards women, but what I realized when I started really meditating on the subject was that this holds true to men as well. And especially those of us that live in a society, especially once you get to the point where you start working on degrees and trying to become educated and all of that stuff, there's a pressure to be flawless. And so oftentimes, if we're not perfect and we're not flawless, we don't say anything. We don't speak up. And so many of us have been told that when you're Black, you got to be twice as good. You got to be perfect. Many of us, literally, our hair had to be perfect going out of the door as little boys and little girls. Our clothes had to be pressed and immaculate. I mean, we had play clothes, school clothes, church clothes. I mean, that was just how it was. And you just had to have your stuff together. We were raised with that. And I think for a lot of us, what it does and has done is it's put us in a position where a lot of us just don't speak up, because we're afraid that we won't be that flawless little boy or girl that we were taught to be. Some of us, and this happens so much as women, I've been dealing with this week a lot, where we suffer from being invalidated. Somebody is always invalidating what we say, invalidating what we do. And many times I go in the environment, and not because I want to be, I know for a fact that I'm the smartest one in the room. Or I could be on the phone with people talking about something, and I know they don't know more about the subject matter than me. And oftentimes we're faced with a choice. Like, do I just come off, arrogant and start just, heralding around my credentials, or do I answer the questions, try to satisfy somebody who's insecure, satisfy somebody who can't see me for who I am? But suffering from our minds being undermined is another reason why a lot of us don't speak up. Just dealing with invalidation and our mental capacity being undermined. Um, and so I do a lot there. I'll talk about some techniques that I use just to help combat that, because when somebody is invalidating you or undermining what you say, it can bring your vibration down. And so you want to have tools and techniques that you use, things that you go to help raise your, your validation back up, at least just within yourself, because that's all you can control. But it's just a constant, like maybe we don't look like the person that they feel like we should look like, or if we say something, it's like I got to ask you 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways the same question over and over again, and it's hard not to snap. And so many of us just kind of go inside of ourselves and go, I'm not going to say anything. For some of us, we don't use our voice because we're insecure. We're insecure because of that, that concept that we have to go that extra mile. We're insecure because maybe somebody is undermining us. That happens, man. And I would tell you something. The smarter you are, the more you are invalidated. And sometimes the more insecure you can become. Oftentimes, the smarter you are, believe it or not. Especially when, if you're raised and you know for a fact that your IQ is higher, your EQ is higher, you know you got it going on, you will go into environments and people will completely invalidate you. Maybe because you don't look like they expected you to look. Some people just don't want you to know. They don't want you to be the one to know all the answers. So that's another reason why a lot of times we don't speak up, because oftentimes you don't want to get into this tit for tat. You don't want to tip. For me, I'm always dealing with it because I don't want to tip my vibrational scale on a lower end. I'm always trying to strive. I'm always striving for high vibration discussions and conversations, and everything that I do being at a higher vibration. Sometimes I will choose not to say anything because saying something is going to lower my vibration. Sometimes I just get, I get fed up enough and I'm like, look, another reason why sometimes it's just, it's straight up just trauma. After a while, when you've been taught not to speak up, not to say anything, when you've been invalidated so long, it creates a certain trauma. And so you either become overbearing and you go, look, I'm gonna just tell them what I know, and you get really aggressive, or sometimes you fall back and you just go, you know what, I'm good. I don't have to say anything. What I've learned is that I don't have to prove myself to anybody. One of these reasons, did you know that one of the reasons why this video blogging and this show came about, and why I had been so consistent with it since 2005, I started doing it a little bit, but I got really consistent in 2009, and I have thousands of hours of video blogging and shows because I was constantly being invalidated. And so I either would come out here and video blog and interview other people and talk just to make myself feel more comfortable, or just to kind of get things off my chest. I also am one of those kind of persons that I meditate a lot. I've been meditating since college, probably before that, a little bit in high school. And so I always get downloads. And so I'm always getting these downloads about different subjects and different things. And I said, well, you know what? I'll just start video blogging about it. I'll just start putting it out there into the universe and see what happens. And my goal has been, hey, these downloads don't come to me because they're just for me. They got to be for other people, because if it's not, it can't just be for me to hold inside. So my thought was to share it. And I think that I've helped thousands of people as a result of some of these subjects that come on my heart that get kind of downloaded to me during, after, before, or around meditation time. Um, I remember when I first came in the mosque, um, I was big on meditation, and I would meditate anywhere. I did not care. And I remember one of the sisters like, okay, she's weird. I was like, I think we was somewhere, and I was just like, look, I gotta meditate. And they talked about me. That stayed with me for a long time. I got teased about that. But yeah, so that's just my happy place. Another reason why we don't speak up oftentimes is because we don't want to get played. We think that if we speak up, somebody gonna know all our business and they're gonna play us. And sometimes our parents teach us that as a defense mechanism. Sometimes we just, don't really want anybody to see us. Let me talk to y'all in the chat. And I have an article I'm going to reference. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into this. So welcome, Sister Betty. She says, great evening. Look at that glamorous hairstyle there. Walaikum salam, Brother Victor. Nova Dawn has sent us the praying hands. Yes, ma'am. Back to you. Good God has given us the other praying hands. Welcome, good God. Nova Dawn gave us 100%. Brother Victor said, true, choose to expand a high vibration and avoid being drawn into anything other than that. Yeah. Sometimes, you got to get people told. That happens too. Walaikum salam, Sister Crystal. Welcome. So let me go through this article. The article gives us, I'm going to go through 5 reasons why we don't use our voice. Okay. And this is from Psychology Today. And especially when you're watching television and you're seeing people being fire hosed and arrested, and it's all over CNN because they're using their voice. Now, using your voice, you got to use it with discretion. You got to use it with class and taste, but we should all be able to speak up and use our voice. We discussed last week the power of asking, and the power of asking is powerful. Right? It can be really effective in terms of creating the life that you want, but using your voice is just as powerful in creating the life that we want. We are so oftentimes disconnected from our source that the insecurity that we feel just puts us in a position where we don't want to say anything. I'm just not going to say anything. But once we gain our confidence and we get reconnected to source by raising our awareness through listening to high vibrational discussions like this, we'll raise our awareness. I was going to talk about this later after the article, but let me say this. Do you guys remember when President Obama got elected? They did a study afterwards, and I heard Brother Nuri talking about this on a show with Nick Cannon. And it reminded me of the Obama effect. I remember writing an ebook called How He Won. And I went through and analyzed his emotional intelligence. And I remember how I felt going into these environments. I'm sorry, let me turn my phone off. I remember how I felt going into these environments with people who didn't look like me after he got elected. And I had this huge confidence boost. And I would have to say that the confidence boost of seeing him be elected, handle himself, be a thinker, really, really impacted my life. This study says that the inspiring role that Mr. Obama or President Obama projected helped Blacks overcome anxieties about racial stereotypes that had been shown in earlier research to lower the test-taking proficiency of African Americans. The researchers conclude in a report summarizing their results. The New York Times actually published this article where students took a test, and they determined from the before and after test results that the Obama effect had boosted the confidence of the students. They didn't have more information, they weren't smarter, they just scored higher because of their confidence. So when you expose yourself to examples of people who are doing things a lot of times that maybe you admire, that help you get on a higher vibration, you'd be surprised at how much more you'll manifest in that moment just from seeing that person. And so when I started this show, that was my goal. It wasn't followers. It was a hobby for me to get off my downloads and get things off my chest. You know, the heart is so intelligent, so the heart tells our mind to do certain things, and so for me, sometimes I just need to get it out. So let me go over this. Okay, so this is from Psychology Today. And we're going to talk about 5 reasons why we oftentimes don't use our voice. Okay. A lot of times we don't speak up because we think that we're going to make matters worse. So we see somebody going through something, we tend to err on the side of not saying anything because we think, I'll just make it worse if I say something. Yeah, if I say something, I'll make it worse. So I'm just not going to say anything. And that's not always good, right? It's the most common reason, they say, of why a person doesn't share their deep-seated emotions with others. And I think that that's a very passive, aggressive, or it leads to passive aggressive behaviors and unhealthy ways in which oftentimes we act out, because sometimes we just let things go. We go, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to make matters worse. Trust me, at the end of the day, if we do as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, which is to think 5 times before we speak, then when we do speak, it will be thought-filled, it will be inspiring, it should, inshallah, be the truth. But more importantly, we're allowing ourselves to be heard. We're not allowing ourselves to be undermined or invalidated. And so sometimes you do just have to speak up, especially in cases where people are invalidating you. Okay. So don't worry about saying, I'll just make matters worse. If we think 5 times, as the messenger taught us, before we speak, we shouldn't have to worry so much about making things worse. And if we do make things worse, it's not because we told a lie in doing it, and it's not because we withheld our truth. The second reason why we don't speak up is because we don't want to seem needy. I remember my father, part of my money psychology that I've had to unravel was something that my father used to say to us. He would say, stop begging. It'll make folks hate you, or don't seem needy. So if you're talking too much or asking too much, you might come off as needy. And so I've had to unravel that inside of myself. The money psychology also, my grandmother used to say, you ain't got no money if you ain't got no friends if you ain't got no money in your pocket. And so that was something that I had to learn how to unravel. So if, on a side note, a shameless plug, if you bring me on board to help you with your money psychology, we're going to go through and dissect a lot of those things that we've been taught. Some people, the most common one in the Black community, money don't grow on trees. So these are things that we have to unravel. So worrying about coming off needy is a reason why oftentimes we don't speak up. It's a reason why oftentimes we're bad when it comes to money as entrepreneurs. We're not able to price our money the way that we should, or our services the way that we should, because we're worried about coming off needy. We don't like having discussions around money. Some of us don't even like sending invoices or asking people to pay us. I tell my entrepreneurs, look, put the invoice on a system, let it just go out, automated. It will remind the person when they haven't paid. When they pay you, you go in there and click paid. And then, you just keep rolling with your business. But a lot of times we are so worried about seeming needy. And it's not good. It's not good. We have to express these unmet emotions. Okay. We have to share with our loved ones. We have to be open to sharing in general. And in today's world where people don't really talk, people don't really express their emotions, it can be a powerful tool to not only get what you want, but to express what you want. Okay. I hope y'all in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Amina Muhammad, she says she's watching from South Holland, Illinois. Welcome and thank you very much. I want you all to type in the chat, think 5 times before you speak. That's from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Here's the third reason why a lot of us don't use our voice. We think we'll stress somebody out. Okay. You got to think about, do you want to be stressed out or do you want to stress somebody else out? I know you probably don't want nobody to be stressed out, but sometimes we think we're just going to add to a person's stress load. So we think, okay, I'm just going to sit there and listen. But listen, look, most people didn't call you for counseling. Most people didn't call you because they see you as a counselor and they just want to come and sit on your couch and have you just listen to what they have to say. A lot of people call you for dialogue. And if you call me, that's what I'm assuming you called me for, was for dialogue. Because if you want me to be your counselor, you want me to be your coach, then you need to go in the app and book me and pay me for that. But if you called me and you want to have a conversation, then we're going to have a conversation. And I'm going to be very careful about not saying things to stress you out, but I'm not going to hurt my own feelings to avoid stressing you out. I'm so conscious when I'm giving news or bad news. Most of my friends will tell you, they say, if I ever receive any bad news, I want it to come from Sister Sajda. They'll tell you that because I'm very careful and I'm always trying to be emotionally intelligent, where I'm considering the emotions and the needs of the other person. I'm considering the impact of my words. And I even consider the impact of me holding it in and me not saying anything. The acquisition of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House was one of those tests for me, because I was in a space where I had been doing something that was really challenging, very difficult. I had just kind of come through that very stressful period. And I remember when I saw the house pop up on this site, I was faced with, do I just ignore it, turn the computer off or reboot it and just keep going? How do I deal with that internally in my brain and my mind? Is that something that a believer would do if they know that they can acquire it? This is what was going through my mind. And then I just said, you know what? I could just not say anything. And I remember that settled into a pocket with me that was almost comfortable. And I say that because I had come through a phase where I had to bite my tongue a lot. I was being undermined and invalidated a lot for my intellect, and dealing with a lot of insecure people. So I just I didn't feel comfortable saying something all the time. And I didn't necessarily have the best circle of people in terms of people who understood my intellect and didn't invalidate me and didn't undermine my mind. So in that moment, I thought, what if I just don't say anything? And then I realized I couldn't live with that either. So that's an important decision. Are you going to, I don't want to, and I'll say this, I don't want to stress people out. I knew that if I made the move, it would stress some folks out. And I tried for a very long time to be kind of on the down low with it, being really quiet, but Allah didn't let me do that. He never lets me do that. And He has pushed me into a space of notoriety that I can't say that I'm all the way comfortable with. I'm getting used to it. I'll give you an example. I called somebody for a service the other day, and they had to call around and get it for me. And within an hour, I had two people who knew me, who I never even told that I was trying to do this, called me and said, "Hey girl, what's going on? I heard, such and such, such and such." And I'm like, good, my goodness. Is this what Beyonce and them go through? But yeah, a lot of times we just, I know I've been guilty of choosing not to say anything, not because I didn't want to stress or trigger somebody else who I knew would be challenged by me or even just by my presence. And that's not good. Okay. Another reason why we oftentimes don't say anything is because we think people just won't get it. We go, oh, you know what? They just won't get it. And I've been guilty of that too, where I'm like, no, they don't get me. They don't understand me. They're not gonna respect me. We have this proverbial they that we have in our head, or even if we have targeted people that we're thinking about, sometimes we let the idea that this person isn't going to get us overshadow our desire to say something and our desire to express something. So again, utilizing the instructions from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, think 5 times before you speak. And that's not always because you don't want to say something bad. That's not just because you don't want to curse somebody out. That can be so that you can get the right vibration and the right courage to speak up and say something sometimes. And I would say I don't struggle with that nearly as much as I did many, many years ago. But it was an old thing that popped up inside of me in late 2018 when I made the decision to get this house. It was just an old thing that I thought that I had got through. I thought that I had been strategically navigating that. And Allah was like, got a little more residue there. Let me see. Let's clean that out. And so I had to work on that. So, and here's another reason. This is the 5th reason. A lot of times we just think our feelings are wrong. Some of us are so uncomfortable with our emotions. Again, another plug, I do emotional intelligence coaching, especially for those of us as entrepreneurs, because in the business world, if we're uncomfortable with our emotions, people are going to kick our butt every single time. Every single time. And I will tell you that when I started to study and be confident with my emotional intelligence, my business acumen or my business accomplishments increased. It seemed like it was overnight. Seems like I went from, let's say, a level 5 to a level 7 almost overnight, because we're just uncomfortable oftentimes with our emotions. And for me, I was uncomfortable with my emotions and my sensitivity. And when I started really digging in there and started to understand that, I became a business person that even I didn't recognize. And even now, when I find myself trying to figure something out, or maybe I'm kind of spinning my wheels on something, I already know that it's one of those 2 things that I probably have some blind spot towards that I need to work on. Okay. Usually it's, one of these 5. And this can be difficult because oftentimes, we're in relationships, and in relationships, you don't want to make matters worse. You don't want to seem needy. You don't want to stress the person out. You don't want to worry about whether or not they're going to get it. You don't want your feelings to be wrong. And so that's why relationships and, marriage and relationships, if you will, is half the faith. Because, when you don't have somebody else's feelings to consider, right? You can just kind of do your own thing. But once you get into a partnership, whether it's a business partnership, for those of us conscious entrepreneurs, we have customers, we have vendors, we have employees, we have all these people that we have to consider as we're making our decisions. So it really means that we have to be especially in tune with our emotions. And being in tune with our emotions means that we got to get real comfortable with our emotions really fast. It's going to be hard to deal with employee issues. It's going to be hard to deal with customer issues. It's going to be tough to deal with vendor issues. It's going to be tough to deal with partnership issues. It's going to be tough in general if you don't get your own emotions in check. And when I say in check, I mean expand your awareness, because that emotional intelligence includes understanding the emotions of others, understanding how your words and your information and what you're putting out there is going to impact other people, managing your own emotions, controlling your own emotions, but then acknowledging your own emotions. So it's a real serious oxymoron that we have to deal with primarily. And what makes it that way is because so many times growing up, we're just not taught to deal with our emotions. Rarely, I know for me and my generation, did anybody ask us as children, how do you feel? I was walking in Target today, and there was a woman with her daughter, and she looked to be, I'm going to give her between 9 and 11-ish, not quite a teenager, like a preteen. And the mom was talking and she was explaining something, but she said to her, so how do you feel about that? And I just wanted to tap the lady and say, that is so powerful. Please keep doing that. Because oftentimes, for our parents were busy, struggling, trying to make ends meet. And so this sort of selfishness is something that we're used to with our parents. So expressing our emotions, especially for our generation, and especially to our parents, is something that we're not comfortable doing at all. And our parents tend to be very selfish because they struggle. It was all about, them and putting food on the table and what they wanted and what they needed. And if you grew up at a certain in a certain era, you had parents who were like the first parents after the 60s to have certain freedoms. And so there's a certain selfishness there. But when this woman said to her daughter, how does that make you feel? I was like, oh, my heart just got heavy because it was so powerful. And then to hear the daughter expressing back to her mother how she felt at that young age, 9, 10 years old, I was like, oh, how beautiful is that? But all of these things that we're dealing with, a lot of this is trauma responses. So our parents are dealing with the trauma of their parents, who are probably very strict, almost to the point of abuse. And so then they came through and they felt like they were going to give us a little bit more freedoms, or give us some of the things that they didn't have, or help us with some of the things that they didn't like about their parents. But then at the same time, it was still all about them. And so it's just something that we have to learn. A lot of customers, we had this thing we started many, many years ago where we'd say the customer is always right. But in a lot of ways, in essence, prior to that, it was just, look, you come in here, you buy it, you take what you get. If you don't like it, you go somewhere else. We're kind of starting to get to that again, but that's why a lot of times it's hard for us. We think that if we express ourselves to our customers or consider their feelings or emotions, that they're going to take advantage of us and things are going to spiral out of control. Listen, that information can only impact you in a way that you allow it to impact you. So your customers can't take advantage of you if you don't let them take advantage of you. So it doesn't hurt you to hear how they feel. It may help you to change a policy to improve how you do things, or you may choose to do nothing. You may say, you know what, if I consider that, it's going to put me out of business. That may be it. But you can't be afraid to engage in those emotions. Same thing with your employees. A lot of times we don't talk to our employees about how they feel about certain things because we're worried about how it's going to impact us. And so we do business, and just like a lot of times we parent, it's very selfish. We don't think about what that means. And I know a lot of parents hate when I say that. I said this in sessions to people and they say, wait a minute, what you mean I'm selfish? I do this for them. I do that for them. The reason why I don't do certain things is because I don't want to hurt their feelings. But that means it's all about you. So the question becomes, what about them? What about the children? What about the customers? What about the employees? What about the vendors? What about them? So we just have to work on getting out of this learned behavior that we have because, in the colonizers' world, we're taught individual over community. And so as colonized people, we've never felt validated. We've never felt that our voice matters. We never felt that we could speak up and say much of anything that would matter unless we protested or just kind of went crazy. So oftentimes when we go into business just the same way the colonizer went into business when they took advantage of us. And we don't take into consideration the feelings of others, and we don't even use our voice. Or if we use our voice, they better not use their voice. So what this show is about is helping us to raise awareness on two fronts, okay? On the one front where we don't speak up and use our voice like we should. And so raising our awareness around that and understanding the power of it, but also allowing other people to use their voice in relationship with us is very, very important. And so that's what I wanted us to see and hear and learn and understand today on this show. And that is that voices are important. Our voice is important, and the voice of others who are in relationship with us are also important. And we shouldn't be afraid to hear somebody else's voice for fear that it's going to undermine our own leadership. No. And if anything, it'll make us a better leader because we can get on common ground. And we talked about this. If you go back to the power of asking, I think we talked about that in part 3, maybe. So let me know in the chat if this just helped you raise your awareness around the concept, right, of a voice. Let me know in the chat. I'd love your feedback. All right. So tomorrow and Saturday, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central Time, is the Sajda Morning Coffee Talk. And Saturday, 6 a.m. Central Time, is the Sajda Morning Coffee Talk. And you know what we're going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about scammers, predators, pimps, hustlers. And I'm going to share with y'all something that I know y'all been sleep on because everybody's worried about the scammers. I get more email requests and more issues from people talking about, I feel like this person's scamming me. This person's taking advantage of me. This person is mishandling me. I feel like this person is hustling me. And when I point these certain things out to them, they go, oh my goodness, I see it now. So this is going to be from a different twist. I'm not getting ready to give the hustlers and the scammers an audience by telling you all their scams. Y'all know how you being scammed. But you know that you're being scammed, but you don't always know how. And I'm going to talk to you about the psychological stuff that is used to scam you. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about it. And some hit dogs going to holler after this show, but that's all right. They'll be okay. All right. So I will see you all tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central Time on the Sajda Morning Coffee Talks. I pray you all are doing well. I didn't even put my banner up going across the bottom so y'all can send in y'all love offerings. Love offering, Cash App, Sajda Enterprise. If you want your love offering to go to Sajda House, then go to supportsajdahouse.com. You can follow me at Sajda Wendy Muhammad. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit the super chat button. And if you want to book me for one of those sessions, emotional intelligence, money psychology, or just to help you build and develop your business, then you could do that at bookSajdaWendyMuhammad.com. All right, y'all. We finished a little early today. I just wanted to get this over to you all nice, calm, and cool, because I really want to raise our awareness, because we get so quiet and we suffer in silence. We just, something bothers us. We just decide, let me look on YouTube. Let me look at Instagram. Let me watch a movie. Let me go eat something. Let me go have a drink. Let me go vape. Let me go smoke. Let me go whatever. But a lot of these addictions and a lot of these passive aggressive behaviors that many of us display can be dissolved and resolved if we would just use our voice. And if we would just respect someone else using their voice as well. Let people talk. Let people say what's on their mind. You don't know everything. And oftentimes people will give you a perspective that will help expand your intellectual capacity. All right. So thank you for tuning in. This has been such a high vibration conversation. I am grateful for each and every one of you all. And I pray that you receive more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. Sending you lots of peace and love. Stay tuned. Anybody want to hear more about the Bitcoin auction? I'm going to show this commercial here. If you did not get your NFT for the commemorative Elijah coin that you ordered, I talked to the vendor. We did open it back up. And so you can use that form that was emailed to you. Many of you got emailed. And go in there and put your wallet address and your coin number in there. I'm going to be going through that tomorrow morning, and I'm going to send them the rest of the wallets, and then I have to cut it off because I can't straggle it along just because we're slow coming to the table. And so anyway, I'm going to make myself a note to send you all one more notice tonight. That tomorrow morning, and then that'll kind of be the drop dead deadline. All right. If you don't have your commemorative Elijah coin, go to supportsajdahouse.com. It's going to give you an email address where you just need to send your information on how to get the coin. Send us some high vibrations your way. We are struggling to that finish line, but close. Your girl is giving it all she got. All right. May Allah bless you. Appreciate your love offerings. Thank you all very much. And we will see you, inshallah, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central Time on the Sajda Morning Coffee Talk. Peace and blessings.